Hello, Colts Nation. What's up, No Horsing family? Welcome back to an episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, we are two dudes talking Colts. We are your hosts, Steven and Zach, back together. I feel like for one of the first times in the offseason so far. Man, I'm pumped.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's always exciting to get on here. I think as our show's grown a little bit, we've always just, you know, I've had some ideas, you've had some ideas, and we've just kind of always ran with it. Respecting family time, off season, all of those things, hectic schedules. At the end of the day, we're still fathers and husbands and all of that good stuff. But awesome to get back on here and connect with you. And today, man, what a cool topic. Jonathan Taylor. See a 2,000-yard rusher? Like, seriously, like, guys, like, this is going to be a fun one. We always have, so many people, our loyal fans that hop on here and check it all out. I mean, honest to goodness, is he a 2,000-yard rusher? It was a great question, and I wish I could take credit for it. It kind of pisses me off a little bit, but Steven came up with this topic, so I got to give it to you, brother. I got to give it to you. I don't know. It's a great thing to discuss. It's fun. It's the off season. We're looking for fresh, cool ideas. Steven, I'm going to let you kick it off since it was your idea. Just some general thoughts, and then we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of funny. So for peek behind the curtain throughout the off season, I'll be me and Zach play around. We talk basically all week, and I'll send him little ideas or little thumbnails. And I sent him this one, and I think the response was just like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah.
was all I got. And it was like, "Well, you going to do that?" I said, "No, we're going to do it." So we were
Yeah.
excited about bringing it. So I mean, obviously, the question is, can Jonathan Taylor be a 2,000-yard rusher? You look over his last two seasons. Last year, obviously leading the lead in rushing. Year before, really coming on at the tail end of the year. Um, I mean, it's an interesting question because obviously the last person to do it was Derrick Henry, who's built differently and has a different kind of body type, different kind of running type, and truthfully a different kind of offense than what Jonathan Taylor has at Indianapolis. If I'm a betting man, can he? Yes. Will he? I don't think so. Only because I don't see them saddling him with the load that it will take. Derrick Henry, the year he had the 2,000 yards rushing, I believe he had over 300 plus 300, 350 some odd carries. This past year, when he would have done it again, probably, he was on pace for over 400 carries. And I don't see Frank Wright saddling him with that amount. You got Naheem Hines in the backfield. You also, I mean, I know we kind of joke he could be a cut or not. You got Philip Lindsay, who is another one who could participate, who could help a little bit, take that load off. The reason now, can he? Absolutely. I think he could. He's got the talent, he's got the burst, the versatility, and things like that. Will he? I don't think so, only because I don't think they're going to ask him to.
That's fair. I was thinking about this too all day long and how I wanted to answer it. So I guess, and first of all, I want to preface this by saying, Stephen, I'm not trying to cop out. It's just an honest, evaluation. I'm on the side of you probably. I don't think he will this year, but I do believe in his career. I do believe he will have a 2,000-yard year. I just don't think this is that type of team. I think the usage that you're going to see from him and with Matt Ryan being our quarterback and being able to open up things, I think, you're going to see Naeem Hines kind of settle in a little bit more. And from a carry standpoint, I think you're going to see something very similar with Taylor, but just from a usage rate, you may not see the volume to have to be used. They leaned on him so heavy with Carson last year just because – as the season went along and it progressed, you almost felt like that Frank Reich, that was about the only thing that he trusted, right? Like that was his home run hitter. That was his guy. I mean, I can still feel myself jumping up. Steven, when he took that ball to the house against the New England Patriots to seal that game last year, I was there, and that is literally, and I'm not exaggerating, that is the highest I've jumped off the ground in like 20 years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, my man was just, I mean, like a rocket behind that backfield, and that's all he needs is just that much room, man, and he could take it to the house every single time. I still think he has an elite year. And honestly, I think he might have more total yards this year than he's had in the past. I believe Jonathan Taylor is a weapon also as a pass catcher. I don't think he's ever quite been utilized that way, but I think in the open field, man, you put Jonathan Taylor in situations where he's one on one, he's gonna win more of those than he's gonna lose. You know, he's just
Mhm.
that talented. He's that special. Great with contact of being able to keep the ball moving. So this year, I don't think so. I think we spread it around. I think we're going to have a lot of offensive weapons. I think he has a very good year. I think his yards per carry is going to be extremely good. And I'm interested to see with this kind of this new form offensive line how that affects him. I don't think it will, honestly. Like I think we have a really good, solid core still in place. It'll be interesting, but man, I would be so fired up if he were able to kind of get close. And last year, if we're being fair, he wasn't that far off last year. You know, I think he's
Right.
18 yards last year. So, um, but I just think he'll be used differently this year, not less, just differently.
Well, and you know, an interesting thing is when you start looking back at the history of 2,000-yard rushers, right? You kind of look and you got Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson. They're those bruising backs. You know, that takes a lot of carries.
Yeah,
Jamal Lewis back in the day, a lot of carries. Then you look, there's a couple really. Chris Johnson with the Titans was kind of that blazing speed back, and then also, I mean, obviously Barry Sanders. And that's the thing with Jonathan Taylor is he's not a big bruising back. He can. You know, we've talked about it before. He can lower the shoulder pads and he can lay somebody out,
yeah,
but that's not his game. He doesn't. I The funny thing is, I don't think he like Derrick Henry. I'm saying Derrick Henry a lot because he's the most recent one, but Derrick Henry is like pound, 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 and then he's gonna eventually be over that 100 yards, and then eventually he's gonna break that one because no one wants to tackle him. JT's more of, you know, pound, pound. There's the whole boom gone.
yeah.
You know, it's not, and it can happen in the first quarter. It doesn't necessarily happen in the fourth quarter. But I agree with you. You know, I'd be talking out of both sides of my mouth if I said he's going to be a 2,000-yard rusher because I've been on record on the show that I think Matt Ryan's a 4,000-yard passer. That's
Yeah.
a lot, and you know, and I think he's going to divvy the ball out. And like you said, I think we relied so heavily on him last year because there wasn't trust in Carson Wentz. Right? Frank Wright lost the trust in him. And I mean, we were like 80%
Yeah.
run. I mean, it was a ridiculously run heavy. And it's crazy that he got the numbers he did with everyone knowing he was going to get the ball. But I don't see that happening this year. I see a much more balanced offense. In fact, if I was leaning, I could actually say that I'm going to see a more passing this year than I did last year because I foresee Matt Ryan having a much better year than Carson had last year. Now, what that means, like touchdown, interception, all that stuff, I don't know. But I don't, I think they're going to take it out of his hands to where I just don't see him having enough of those big breakoff runs that we're used to seeing to get to 2,000 yards.
Yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. And also, you know, I think he still gets a lot of yards this year, Steven. I just don't think he needs as many carries to get as many yards because things are going to be opened up. People are going to have to respect Matt Ryan. And early on, the truth is, you know, they're going to say, hey, let's see if Matt Ryan's arm can truly beat us. If he's
Mm-hmm.
still at this age, if he's able to do it. In the moment that starts happening, I think that just gives Taylor, you know, even bigger run lanes to run in. And he's such a rare running back because typically in the NFL, you've got, you know, you mentioned it earlier, you've got these big bruising backs who just body blow after body blow. Or
Mm-hmm.
you've got, you know, you've got a guy in the backfield who can just take the ball, you know, Chris Johnson, and just take it to the house every single time. Well, with Taylor, you have a blend. You have
Mm-hmm.
this guy who's physical enough to run people over. Very, very efficient in the red zone. I mean, my man, I mean, he's going to punch it in 9 times out of 10 if you get him, you know, first and goal, second and goal, third and goal, even fourth and goal. I mean, he is very efficient when it comes to that. But he is so deadly with that one cut. I mean, he plants that
Mm-hmm.
foot and he's off to the races. When he gets even with that first guy, they're just not going to win that matchup very often. He's just such a fast running back. He's so unique in that regard. So a true threat to take it to the house every single time. And it'd be cool, man. I think it'd be so awesome if he were able to kind of get around that 2,000 yard mark. I do believe in his career though. I think
Mhm.
he's more of just just one of these running backs who's really good early on. I think he's a generational type of running back. I think he's going to last a little bit longer than most running backs just because he takes care of his body very well. Um, you typically see really good running backs if you're lucky in the NFL, 4, 5, 6 if you're lucky. I think Taylor could go 7, 8, 9 years in the NFL. He might have a la, Curtis Martin year where he even gets into that 10-year range. Frank Gore
Yeah.
was unbelievably durable. Um, he's just different, man, and he's a playmaker. And probably had we not had that tail off at the end of the season, would have had a real serious argument to be the MVP of the NFL last year. He was that good. He was that special. And you mentioned it earlier. They knew what we were going to do. Everybody in the stands knew what we were going to do. The announcers knew what we were going to do. And could a damn person do a thing to stop him? I mean, he just did what
Well,
he wanted every week.
best line. For those who watched the Hard Knocks, and then remember the game too. Best line ever from last year is when was the Patriots game when the announcer said, "If you want to be a running team and everyone knows you're going to run the ball, can you do it?" And then he broke off the run that won the game.
Yeah.
So I mean, the two most interesting things that I think about is for him is now you have an off season too. Like he was great his rookie year near the tail end. No one saw him coming really. I think Colts fans did. We talked about it. I know specifically you talked about him being an MVP candidate in the preseason. We talked about how big a year he was going to have. But now everyone knows.
Yeah.
Everyone's watching. Everyone knows about him. So he's not sneaking up on anybody. And the other thing I was going to say too is if I had phrased this is where it's kind of funny just because we talk about this. It's like Matt Ryan could have 4,000 yards. I think a lot of people are predicting Michael Pittman to have 1,200 yards. If he stays healthy, Paris Campbell could have 1,000 yards. You're not going to have a 4,000 yard passer, two 1,000 yard receivers, and a 2,000 yard rusher. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, it's not going to happen.
Well, if you
So
do,
I
your
mean,
Super Bowl. Yeah,
yeah,
like
it's
that's
just not even the
historic.
greatest show on turf did that,
Yeah,
right? I
that
mean,
would be
it's
historically
just not going to
unbelievable.
happen.
Yeah.
But if I had asked, here's the kind of to tail it off. If I had asked, do you think Jonathan Taylor has 20 touchdowns? I'm actually comfortable saying yes to that.
Yeah. No, I agree. And Matt Ryan, I mean, if you look at his track record, he uses running backs. Like he is not scared to check out of the pass to go to the run. He is
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to dump that football down to his running backs. Like you can remember, his heyday with Devontae Freeman, man. Like, I mean, he used that guy as a true weapon.
He got
And
that guy paid.
he really did. And on top of that, that's why I think that from a fantasy standpoint, anybody who's like a football fantasy nerd, I think he is going to be so much higher above everyone else in fantasy this year just because of the way that he's used with Matt Ryan. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, guys. I mean, I'm excited for this football team. I was very critical of Chris Ballard. I'll be the first person to raise my hand and say that. But I'll also be the first person to say that he's impressed me. Chris Ballard has made some really smart, calculated moves. Matt Ryan may have fell in his lap, when it all said and done. We have to thank Deshaun Watson for that. Honestly, had that not started, I'm not sure who in the hell would have been our quarterback. To be honest with you, but that being said, great move there. He's made some really sound moves on the defensive side. He shored up that defense and offensive line. He loves the trenches. It's the deepest football team that we've had. I mean, it really is. And if we're healthy, we've got a special team. And I know no one's going to talk about us. They're going to talk about Russell Wilson. They're going to talk about Herbert and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carr, and rightfully so, right? Like these are all good teams with worthy quarterbacks. And we're going to kind of be left out of that. But the Indianapolis Colts play a hell of a lot better when they're in that type of scenario. Back against the wall, underdogs, me against the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think they tend to play a little bit better under those circumstances versus, hey, we expect the Colts. These expectations are lofty. We expect them to be the Super Bowl team. I don't think that we performed as well under Frank Reich under those circumstances. However, when we have that back against the wall mentality, I mean, we usually do really well. I mean, Frank Reich had put together a situation for us to come back from the start that we had this year, and we should have made the playoffs. Let's be honest. I mean, we,
Mhm.
we should have made the playoffs. If Carson Wentz hits T.Y. Hilton down the sideline, Stephen Burton could have ran that football in. It's just it's that simple. Anybody in the world could have ran that football, and he was wide open. You just make those throws, and you're a totally different football team.
Mhm.
And I think that's the refreshing part to the Indianapolis Colts organization. It's not that Carson Wentz was just an all-out, just total flop. It's just in the moments when you needed him the most to just really make the fundamental passes in the plays. That's where there was a breakdown right here. More, even as much as in his arm, it was right here where the breakdown came. He just froze up. He just locked up for whatever reason. I'm not going to blame it on anybody, one person in particular. It is a team game, no doubt about it. But Matt Ryan, they've already noted in the offseason that it's just awesome that he makes the easy throws. They're easy
Mhm.
throws, and he makes it look easy. Like, that's what you want out of an NFL quarterback. You want those guys to make those throws. So, going to probably wrap it up. I'm sure, Steven, I don't know if you have any more thoughts.
I mean, it's kind of funny, and the only thing I'll say is when we're talking about the team, and I 100% agree, and that's why like we joke all the time. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell for notifications because of all the stuff when it comes to just fun topics throughout here. And then as we get into training camp, like man, we got a chance that this could be a special season. We all remember last year. We all remember depressed Zach and depressed Steven for the first 3 weeks
Yeah.
coming on here every time with instant reaction, looking like someone had kicked our dogs. We got a chance this season. I mean, and lost in the shuffle of getting Matt Ryan and moving those things. And you know, no one. I feel like no one's really talking about like Yannick Ngakwe and Stephon Gilmore really anymore either. Like, there's a lot of talent on this team, and if we can get through the next month with no trouble, obviously during their off time, and then through training camp with nothing. I mean, we all remember last year too. Broken foot, broken, Wentz out, Nelson out. Like there was just so much. T.Y. Hilton going out like right before the season started. If we can get past that, man, it could be a special year, and we're excited to bring it and be able to kind of go through this off season with you guys again. That's kind of all I got, man. I mean, it's always fun to get on here and talk. It's always fun to get on with Zach and be able to talk with you guys. We've joked, we've tried to do it more this off season, but Zach says it best. Me and him talk all the time. Zach says it best. We love talking to you guys, but then there are times like we are fathers, we are husbands, and there are things, and we enjoy kind of a break too. Because to be honest, sometimes the season is a grind.
Yeah.
It can be a grind, and you need a little break here and there. So we're always happy to talk with you guys. Make sure you guys, like we said, subscribe, comment. We love the comments. This topic is a good one for Colts Nation because I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I even want to hear Herbicide. I know he's out there.
Oh, he's
I
out there.
know he's out there.
He exists. Trust me.
He, he's
He
he's
is
hit us up before.
he
He's
is
he's
popped
dropped in
in.
here before in the off season. So I want to hear from everybody. And then in the end, we end these things the same way we always do.
Yes,
I
sir.
love you. I know Zach loves you. I'm out.